Are caffeine and thyroid compatible? This article will answer all your questions. Studies have discovered that drinking coffee right after taking your LT4 pills can considerably lower medication absorption in the intestines. The caffeine is believed to be the origin of this effect. Caffeine can produce an increase in intestinal movement. It can also induce an increase in the quantity of fluid that flows in the intestines, which leads to loose stools. Both of these can help your oral medication pass through the intestines faster. With lesser ingestion, the medicine will probably have less of the planned effect, which increases your risk of experiencing hypothyroidism symptoms. Thyroid problems have become an ever more common phenomenon now. From adolescents to the elderly, this disease can affect almost any age category. Medical research indicates that our way of life and dietary choices are to blame. Many employees follow demanding schedules and rely upon a daily dose of caffeine to cheer up and feel energized. 1 or 2 coffees are good, but any more than that can eventually result in thyroid problems. Let's check out the ways coffee hampers thyroid functionality. A sudden spike in blood glucose. Studies conducted showed that coffee increases blood glucose. This exhausts the adrenals and also results in thyroid issues. This is particularly bad if you have hypoglycemia, as it could leave you feeling nervous and anxious throughout the day. Furthermore, regular consumption of coffee is traditionally famous for forming addictions. You'll crave a daily fix of sugars and carbohydrates. Interferes in absorption and secretion of hormones. Coffee interferes in the function of the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal gland trio. These consequently affect your thyroid health. Drinking several cups of caffeine stimulates the excess secretion of epinephrine and cortisol, which are stress hormones. This leaves the system in an ongoing state of anxiety. Furthermore, for those who take hormone replacement medication, coffee may inhibit hormones conversion and absorption. Exhausts the adrenal glands. Coffee stimulates the adrenals to secrete cortisol. That is the reason you're feeling a burst of energy after a cup of coffee. An excess of caffeine can degrade your adrenal gland. That slows down the thyroid gland and also can be one of the leading causes of hypothyroidism. Contributes to oxidative damage. Coffee is high inflammatory. That usually means it induces damage at a cellular level. Some foods are more inflammatory, and also they make our cells burn up and die out faster. Inflammation contributes to diabetes, brittle skin and nails, muscle cramps, insomnia, and thyroid problems. Coffee can be acidic, and if taken on an empty stomach, can begin to damage your intestinal and gut lining. Can lead to sleeplessness and poor sleep. Another study showed that 400 mg of caffeine 6 hours before sleep has significant adverse effects on sleep. That, again, is determined by the individual and her or his ability to tolerate caffeine. Today, many people experience deep and relaxed sleep, whether or not they drink coffee, while some don't, even when they stop drinking at noon. Just how sensitive are you, and how does coffee can impact your sleep? You may find out when you give up caffeinated beverages for 5 days. Then your entire body will tell you. Creates sugar and carbohydrate cravings. As a result of the above, increase in glucose levels, when our blood sugar levels return to normal, we need an emergency fix to spike them up. That is why those who drink coffee at breakfast or enjoy sugary and processed cakes crave carbs and sugar by 11 a.m. or later daily. Worsens PMS and lumpy breasts. It's well established that coffee results in estrogen dominance, which can mean one of 2 things. We have too much estrogen affecting progesterone or an imbalance at the estrogen metabolites, a few are protective, and some are dangerous. PMS, lumpy breasts, substantial periods, cellulite, and even breast cancer, that can be estrogenic cancer, may be estrogen dominance symptoms. Gluten cross-reactive food. 50% of people with gluten sensitivities also experience cross-reactivity with different foods, including casein in dairy food, corn, coffee, and just about all grains due to their similar protein structures. A lot of people report using a similar reaction to coffee as to gluten. Can cause miscarriages. A study revealed that women who drink coffee during their pregnancy are at a greater chance of miscarriage. Can be inflammatory. Any operational physician would say that most modern diseases result from inflammation, a smoldering and invisible fire found on a cellular level. There's conflicting research in regards to the connection between inflammation and coffee. Some studies imply a cup of coffee could counter age-related inflammation. Contradictory effects report too, and it might be individual. One case study discovered that caffeine is a substantial contributor to oxidative stress and inflammation within the body. Chronic human body pains and aches, fatigue, skin issues, diabetes, and autoimmune conditions are simply a few of the inflammation conditions. Can cause osteoporosis. It is well known that caffeine affects our body pH. A low pH, which means an even more acidic human body, can promote osteoporosis. A study has confirmed that habitual coffee drinking in menopausal women was the primary reason for osteoporosis. Decaffeinated coffee. Many people have shifted to decaf coffee beverages to avoid the harmful consequences of caffeine. However, in decaffeinated coffee, there is much chemical treatment to eliminate caffeine. Hence, decaf isn't quite as beneficial for the body as it appears to be. A great deal of advertising from the media boosts decaf as a healthier substitute. However, absorb it in moderation with caution. Chemically treated foods have almost no nutritional value and cause more health conditions. The bottom line. Many people taking thyroid medications will need to wait for 30 to 60 minutes after taking their medications to have their morning beverages. Should you avoid coffee if you have a thyroid condition? A previous case study reported that coffee consumption was protective against thyroid disorder, autoimmune thyroiditis and thyroid cancer. However, later analysis of over 1,000 thyroid cancer patients ascertained that coffee did affect thyroid cancer. A 1984 case study in people did not find caffeine to have any effects on thyroid hormone levels. In contrast, a later study done with newborn rats given high doses of caffeine demonstrated that it did stimulate TSH and T4 and generated a miscommunication involving the thyroid gland and the adrenal gland. Another study reported that caffeine's dose necessary to generate endocrine effects in humans would need 5 cups of coffee in one sitting. Thus, unlike gluten and milk, caffeine isn't something that fundamentally should be avoided by the majority of people with thyroid conditions, as long as it does not cause any reactions. A few individuals can have diseases and predispositions to benefit from avoiding coffee, short-term or long-term. The caffeine in coffee affects the heart rate, metabolism, wakefulness, adrenal wellness, and urine concentration. If you might have an overactive thyroid, anxiety, sleeplessness, nausea, frequent urination, or palpitations, you may benefit from reducing or eliminating caffeine from your diet plan. Generally, hyperthyroidism increases heart rate and is overly stimulating for the body. In the case of hypothyroidism, you want to avert any natural stimulants such as caffeine, pharmacological preparations, etc. that employ for ADHD or narcolepsy. Sometimes, our outward symptoms could trigger by caffeine excess. But it is not just coffee. The caffeine in green tea, matcha tea, dark tea, pop soda, etc. can create the same symptoms. Interestingly, you may discover that you have tolerance for various caffeine-containing substances. In addition to caffeine's quantity in such compounds, other chemicals found in these compounds affect how individuals respond to caffeine. Some people fear attacks from green tea extract, coffee, and matcha, but bear dark tea and yerba mate. The others can drink coffee but get anxious from tea. If you love coffee but experienced an adverse reaction to the caffeine, another choice is to improve the way the caffeine absorbs within your own body. The anxiety created by caffeine is often caused by spikes in caffeine levels, accompanied by a crash when most of the caffeine is dumped out. The important thing. You don't have to avoid coffee long-term if you have Hashimoto's or thyroid disorder. However, you might benefit from eliminating caffeine or adding fat into your caffeine when you have anxiety, insomnia, urinary tract, or migraines. You may want to avoid stimulants, including coffee, when you have hypothyroidism. What's so dangerous about coffee? Suppose you're suffering from thyroid issues, Hashimoto's, adrenal fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, hot flashes, or hormone-related conditions. In that case, it's essential to be fully aware of the other aspect of coffee and make an informed decision about whether it is beneficial for you personally. T4 to T3 conversion. Coffee influences the absorption of levothyroxine, the thyroid hormone. That is the reason why thyroid patients will need to take their hormone replacement pill at least 1 hour or so before drinking coffee. The indirect but consequential point is that coffee results in estrogen dominance, mentioned previously, and estrogen dominance inhibits T4 to T3 conversion. Should you quit coffee? Many folks who've made extensive dietary changes will admit that coffee was the most challenging and last thing to eradicate away from their diets. Coffee is our best friend. However, is it? They say that the shift we all withstand the most is the change our body requires the most. Let your intuition be your guide. You may understand how you feel without coffee when you get off it for 3 to 5 days, and please do not say it does not impact you until you try this experiment. The first 2 days will probably be challenging, but that tells you that there is something essential about this addictive substance. Many women and men who have abandoned coffee and caffeine report better sleep, fewer hot flashes, not as depressed, no anxiety, and many additional benefits with time. What are some replacement choices? If you feel like you still need a slight kick, proceed for less caffeinated options, such as green tea or some herbal tea. Once you're ready to get rid of caffeine completely, herbal teas are a fantastic replacement. Conclusion. Coffee and caffeine is okay to drink, within boundaries, for a few people who have Hashimoto's, though some might want to avoid it. Like most things in life, there isn't a solution for everything, and you'll want to determine what level of coffee supports your health objectives. If you are taking thyroid medications, you might want to wait 30 to 60 minutes before consuming your first coffee cup to ensure your thyroid meds are wholly absorbed. The exceptions to these may be people taking thyroxine or naturally desiccated thyroid medications. If you are allergic to gluten, you'll even want to avoid coffee because it may cross-react with coffee. Recognizing the origin of your coffee can help you prevent mold and other contaminants. In contrast, people who have adrenal problems, that will be a lot of us with Hashimoto's, will have to think about limiting, or perhaps avoiding altogether, caffeine for a while until the adrenals cure.